Hey lads, we are on our way to another chess tournament, the Rising Stars in Phoenix, and the last time we played this we were completely unrated, and so this is our second tournament. We now have a rating of about 500, and my goal today is to end with a much higher rating. I would love to win all 4 games today. I know I have the ability to do that, and I am really going to put in the work, take my time with these games, and yeah, just play good chess. My first game of chess was against Jake. Here's a picture of me and him analyzing the game after we finished it. I actually met Jake at the previous tournament, and it was his first tournament as well. He did a lot better than I did in my first tournament, so his rating was a lot higher than mine, even though he said on chess.com he's like a 1200. But here's our first game, and I think it's quite an interesting one. I was feeling very focused and ready, and he was too. He said that he was glad he got to play me in the first round because he was more focused. But I'll just walk you through the game, show you what happened. So we started the game with playing a Sicilian as black, trying to control the center. He went for this pawn push, which signified he wanted to play an Alapin, which is where you take, and they get both the pawns in the center, but both of my pawns are also in the center. I just haven't used them yet, and both of the C pawns are swapped off. So I played my knight forwards. We do the standard Alapin, and here I went for my typical dragon, hyper-accelerated dragon kind of thing. The engine does not like this move, and I guess it was a bit of a mistake, and I'm really surprised that on move 4 I've never seen that this was a mistake. So when I play against the Alapin in the future, I'm not going to develop this knight. I'm just going to play the pawn first, and then if they take, and I can already develop the bishop, and this position is much stronger, and my knight's not here. The problem with the way I played it was his knight can now kick me, and this gives me kind of a rough start to the game. So I only have one move. I have to go back. If I play here, he actually wins my knight. I have no squares. I can't go here or here because of the queen. I can't go here because of the bishop, here because of the bishop, and I can't go back because of the pawn. So I would not have played forwards. I considered this. I looked at this move, queen takes. I looked at this move. This move just seemed really bad. Like, it seemed kind of like he can just attack me a bit more. And I'm going to have to go to a6, which is not a square my knight needs to be on. So it just didn't seem good going forwards. So I was happy that I found the best move, which was to completely retreat. He developed his bishop here, trying to hold on to the center here. And I was thinking maybe he's going to go for a push and sack a piece here. He didn't. I just decided to try to develop my pieces on this side of the board, and here I played the pawn forwards because I thought my light squared bishop needs to get out and maybe I can swap it off for this knight, which is what I tried to go for. Pulled the bishop out, he attacks it, so I swap it off, and now I'm feeling pretty good because this bishop's usually one you do want to try to swap off. He has an attack here, and I see this, so instead of moving this knight up and him pushing me and, you know, opening up the middle here, I just bring my knight to d7. And here I see that I can place my knight here in the center and attack both of his pieces. So I feel like this is going to be decent for me. However, I did realize that if I do make this attacking move and go here, he has a check with his bishop. I talked to him about this after the game, and he said he didn't actually see this. But I would have brought my knight, had to bring my knight. But I would have had to bring my knight back, which would not have been fun, and I wouldn't have been able to go for this attack. So instead of moving my knight in, I just decide to play my pawn forwards. That way, when I attack here, I hit both the pieces. He thinks I'm going for some kind of shenanigans on this side of the board, but I'm not. I thought I'm just going to attack here, but then I thought, after a little while, maybe developing my knight is a little stronger first, and I can try to castle. I bring my rook over, was happy that I was finding a lot of these good moves. And now I think I can attack here. I can go for this and potentially win a piece. He pushes his pawn. And here, I really should have just played e5. I think it's the best move. He would have to come here. I think this is his only move because he can't come here to defend the bishop. And he needs to defend the bishop twice because I'm attacking twice. So this would be his only move. But here I didn't really see a great move for myself. Maybe c7 just to attack it again, which is interesting. I'm not sure how he would defend there, but he would probably just play his bishop back. So here, maybe he goes b3. And the position looks pretty equal. But instead of finding knight e5, I pulled my queen up here because I thought we can have a really fun attack here into the center, attacking everything, and it just looked really interesting. Computer says it's a mistake, doesn't like it. And here, he pushes his pawn. I really thought he was going to push this pawn, and I was going to come into the center of the board and just put my queen on a really good central square. So I was thinking probably something like this and here. And he can't attack me here because I win the knight. I'm attacking this twice. So right now I'm threatening to take. I'm also attacking this twice. So I could just take. If he takes here, we win the bishop. And if he takes with his queen, I take here, he takes here, and we win the bishop. So I thought this looks really fun. This looks really interesting, kind of exciting. But he didn't push that pawn. He pushed this one. But I decided to still go ahead with this same plan, which apparently was a blunder because he can take here like he did, and I can take like I did, and then he can take here like he did. I have to go here, and then he's got this great square for his bishop just to sit here, and he's up a pawn. And now I no longer can win this pawn back. So that would have been good if he found that. But after he took here, I didn't play the rook up. I actually just played it all the way up to here. And I thought I can go after this knight. Take. We win 2 pieces for 1. And here he blundered. He was thinking of bringing his queen down here. And I had to calculate this for quite a while because I took here and I thought that he was going to play queen sack. I'll just show you the line. Queen sack. It actually is his best move, and he didn't spot it. But I was very happy he didn't spot it because it's a complete draw. Take, knight or king here, b7, and I can never come forwards because if I do, he immediately wins my queen. It would have just been a forced draw if he found the queen move, but he didn't. And instead, he took my rook. I take his bishop, and he attacks me here. And so I find I can pull back to here, tempo his bishop. He can come forwards. I can swap off. And I thought this position looked pretty good for me. So that's what we went for. In this position, after he takes, his bishop's on a great square. But I just realized I need to castle. And I actually said to him, kind of under my breath when I castled, I said, it's about time I castled. And he laughed because all of these attacks on my king were not fun having to calculate. So I just castle, make everything a lot simpler. He moves his rook over, which seems like a normal kind of move. And we find this move with our knight. And here he plays this just to solidify his position. So I bring my other knight in just to defend. He pushes his bishop up. I swing over to attack it. And he pushes his pawn. I swap off. Now he's got this pawn that I can really go after. And here I made the worst move of the game, in my opinion. In this position, I could have just moved my rook over and gone after this. It seemed like it was decent for me. I don't think he's going to make much progress in pushing this. And then maybe later I could win this, or I could get my bishop involved. Maybe there's some kind of fork or something. But instead, I moved the knight here, allowing his pawn to be completely protected, which was not good. So here, he brings his rook down, and so I go for this fork. He didn't see it, and he kind of looked a bit dismayed after I played this move. But actually, I don't actually think it's that bad for him, because after he moves his king, he comes here, he's got 2 passed pawns locked together. I move my rook over, big mistake, and all he has to do is push this pawn. I was getting very worried here. I play up, and now the only move that actually works for him, which he didn't find, but I was very worried about, and I saw it in the game, was rook a1, because it attacks my knight, and I was thinking, yes, I can go here to attack this pawn twice, but then he has this move, and I can't move my knight. If my king, however, was like here, and let's say he did this, then I can just simply take this, and he can never push, because I can always take it, and I'm just up a pawn in an endgame. But my king wasn't up on g7, it was here, and so this whole idea of him coming here would have worked very well. It was this next move that after he played it, I felt completely fine. He played his pawn up to g4, and almost immediately after he said, would you like to take a draw? And I said no, because the position looked completely winning for me. I'm up 2 points of material, and I feel like now I can play my knight here, and I can come here, and I have all the time in the world to do that. So I play my king up. He could have still attacked, but it's not winning for him. He moves his king in. On that initial check, he should have moved his king this way, so his king's a little bit closer, but is what it is. He moves his king over again. He could have still gone for something here, but he doesn't, and we swap off. So all I do is just run my king to protect, and now my knight can eat up the pawns, and we do that fairly easily. These moves were played fairly quickly, and all I have to do here is just march my king up and promote my pawn. And here he was hoping that I would promote to a queen, because this would have been a draw. He has no moves. He can't come here because of the knight, the pawn, the knight, and these two are blocked. So that would have been a big blunder if I did that. But instead, I move this pawn. So he's forced back, check, check, checkmate. So our first game was a win, and I really enjoyed playing this one. The accuracy, if you're curious, was he played with an 80.2 and I played with an 87.6. The accuracy is generally going to be higher when you're playing these longer time controls, but there was opportunities for him to win, there was opportunities for me to win, and ultimately it was a pretty close game. I was thankful though that I beat 1,000, and I could keep going, pressing forwards to get a higher rating for this tournament. One game, one win. I was feeling confident for game 2. Game 2 was a much better game for me. I played somebody who was unrated, and I think he was actually a lower elo player, but I really enjoyed getting to play him, and he made a lot of good moves in the game. He seemed to think a lot and understand my threats, but it was a much easier game for me. So we got the white pieces. It was against this young man, Schlug. Here's a picture of him. It was a lot of fun getting to play this guy, but the game did go super quick. I think we were done in about 10 minutes, and I'll just show you the moves of the game super fast. So here's the game super fast. I played Jababa London. He played this French setup. He brought his knight out here, which I was a bit surprised by. I suppose he knew that I was maybe thinking about this idea, but bringing the knight to a6 just seemed a bit strange. So I did think that he was probably a wee bit lower elo after this kind of move, but he did go on to make some pretty good moves. He brought his bishop out here, pinning my knight. So I brought my knight out just to defend. Probably should have swapped off just to double his pawns, and then come to defend my knight. That way my bishop's not trapped in like it is in the game. But we kick his bishop, he takes, we take, and now we're able to get our bishop out. He castles, and so I put my bishop here on d3, eyeing down this h7 pawn. He plays his pawn forwards. Usually when you're playing this as white, people always go c5 and try to make a break in the middle, and if you forget to take this pawn, they push here, and all of a sudden your bishop has to go to a worse square, and it becomes difficult for you to attack. But he didn't. He just came to c6, so I wasn't too worried. Engine still wants me to swap off here, but he starts pushing these pawns down the queen side, and so I didn't really feel like he was winning the game, because what's he going to do? Push these pawns down to where? I don't know. The game's happening on this side of the board, so I think he should be looking to get his pieces developed. and get them into the play on this side of the board. Here he played this move, and when he played this, I was starting to feel a lot better. H5 is just super weakening. You need to keep your pawns around your king, keep your king safe. So here I was able to play this move, and now he cannot play H6 anymore. Because normally he'd be able to play H6 and I'd take, and his queen would come in here and defend everything. But now he can't kick me away, so this bishop is staying here forever. So I was feeling really good. He starts to bring his other knight in, which is a smart kind of idea. I bring my other knight in, looking at this pawn, because I can take it for free, and he can't recapture me because I win his queen. So here he attacks my knight. I take the pawn. I was considering taking here, which was probably okay, but I thought if I take here, he's never going to block my bishop in. So I decided to take, and then here we just swapped off. I still have his pin on his knight. I take it because he can't move it. He takes me, and here I go for this move with an idea of bringing my queen in to attack this king. He moves his rook out of the way because it was in danger, and I bring my queen in, getting ready to set up a checkmate on g7. Here he pushed his pawn. I don't understand this move. I think he didn't really have much of a reason for it, but that gives me a forced checkmate. I play the best move back because this allows me to get onto g3 and threaten a checkmate. So he pushes here, I go to g3, and he plays the only move that helps him survive any longer. He blocks with the bishop. I take it. He has to move his king, and we throw in a checkmate. So that was game 2. Pretty quick win. Game 3 was probably the most difficult game of the tournament, and I'll show you game 3 now. Right before I do though, you can see here the accuracy. We play with an 87.8 and our opponent with a 59.4. Alright, game 3. Game 3 was against Big Tim. I'm going to call him Big Tim, because game 4 was against Mr. Tim, who is different from Big Tim. But here's a picture of Big Tim. And you can see he's quite an intimidating sort of looking guy. So I was a wee bit worried. But I can take people on the chessboard, even if I can't take them in real life. I got the black pieces in this game. And Big Tim goes for d4. I go for a classical Dutch. So this is the initial setup, almost all the best moves. These are all book moves. He fianchettos his bishop here on g2, which means I can't really fianchetto mine. But after the next few moves, you'll see why I shouldn't have gone for what I did. He castles his king. I take. He takes. I play the classical Dutch, which is this pawn here. This signifies the classical Dutch. The Stonewall Dutch is d5. The Leningrad Dutch is g6. But yeah, this is the classical Dutch, where you want to get a big kingside attack. Go for this h2 pawn. Your pawns push in the center, and your bishop can sack on h3. A really fun, aggressive kind of opening. He plays his queen out to c2 because it just wants to be on a better diagonal. This square that it was on initially wasn't so good. I move my queen over, getting ready for this kind of attack. And he plays the move e4. And I honestly think, like, I just need to be more ready in my chess games for e4, because it really is the only move that sort of stops my ideas in the Dutch. A lot of the time people try to attack on the queen side, and I'm very happy when they do, because it's just a waste of time. I have nothing going on the queen side. My king's over here. So for him to play e4, this is what he should be doing. I swing my queen over to h5, and he pushes his pawn, which I was kind of surprised to see. I thought that there was going to be some kind of take here, but he pushes his pawn. I take it foolishly, like the fool that I am, and he gets his knight situated in a place where it can never be taken. I hate this knight, and it becomes a thorn in my side. I move my bishop out to g5, thinking I can swap off bishops here. My bishop was doing nothing here, so it's probably good on g5 at least to swap off. And here I was actually really happy because when he played the pawn forwards, I thought, okay, now I can get my rook here on h6. I don't even have to swap my bishop off for his bishop. His bishop was on h6, so I thought now I can get ready to lift my rook and get attacking on h2, which is a really stupid idea because what is a queen and a rook going to do against this? All he has to do is move his bishop and his queen's defending, and I have no pieces to attack him. So why am I trying to do any of this? I pull my bishop back. He moves his queen over here, and already I'm starting to get worried because he's attacking this b7 pawn. His bishop here, from about 10,000 miles away, is just sitting there sniping it. So here I play the pawn forwards, and I really didn't want to do this. He's got a knight here attacking it. He's got a bishop attacking it. So I'm starting to get a wee bit worried. He pushes his pawn, and this next move, queen to e8, probably took me about 20 minutes to find. I was trying to find anything I could here. I was thinking about pushing the pawn. But if I push, then he can push attack here and attack here twice. So was not feeling comfortable. So I thought the only move I can really do is bring the queen back just to protect this so he can't take this, because now I have 1, 2, 3 defenders on this pawn and he's got 3 attackers. He needs 4 if I have 3 defenders. Here he brings his bishop over. I play my bishop up because I'm thinking I need to get rid of one of these attackers, because if he brings another attacker in, you know, I'm toast. So let's swap off my bad piece for his super powerful knight. He pushes this pawn, and apparently it's a blunder. I take his knight, he takes me, and apparently now I'm completely winning. Not completely winning, I'm only up 0.5. I take his pawn here, and I felt so much more safe after doing this. I started to move a wee bit quicker. I was happy. I felt like I was going to fall into time trouble this game. But I probably still had half an hour on my clock, so it wasn't too stressed yet, but I was happy to get out of a sticky situation. He plays his bishop forwards, and I move my queen up. My position is starting to get more dominant. I'm up 0.7. He moves his rook over, and I see his idea. He just wants to attack this. I'm defending it twice, so I'm not really worried yet. So here, I just double down on the defense. We got 3 defenders now, and this means that my bishop can move freely. I was thinking of putting my bishop here on e6 just to sort of lock everything in. I did not want this pawn to push with a rook here supporting it. So I thought if I just get my bishop here, then I'm very solid. Both of these pieces are defending b7, and everything should be happy days. He moves his rook up because he wants to triple now. So I just play this move. This move is good because I can also defend with my rook, and I can maybe take this pawn. He takes, I take, and things are looking okay. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. I still have these 2 defenders here. So I wasn't entirely sure yet, but he pushes his pawn. I take, free pawn for me, and he moves his queen, and this is where I'm up 1.3 points of material, completely winning the game. And this is why the game was the most difficult, because it's really hard to find exactly what I'm supposed to go for here. I just was struggling to find the right ideas. Here I pushed my pawn. I was like, I want to free this bishop up completely and not have to worry about defending it, this pawn. So really the move I should have gone for is just put the knight on an outpost. If he takes, like, this is amazing for me. I feel like it's amazing for me. I mean, maybe I take with this one because he's got this pawn. I mean, I could do that. But, like, whatever I do here, I have a passed pawn that's protected, and I'm feeling pretty happy. So I really should have just placed my knight here on the outpost. But I didn't do that. Instead, I played the pawn forwards, and now I'm completely losing. I move here, thinking I'll attack his rook. And this started to get really tactical. I thought if he comes here to attack me, I didn't even see that I had queen takes b4, but I was thinking I have this pawn fork, And I was getting really excited about this idea because I thought if he takes here, I can take here. And then I didn't think about him taking here. I thought about him taking here. I don't know. It doesn't look like I really have anything now. But in my mind, I didn't see any of that. And I thought it was all looking very exciting. As I play the pawn up, he takes, I go here. He pushes his pawn. I go queen e6 because I want to avoid being attacked by this pawn. And I'm also looking over here. He takes my pawn. I take his rook. And now I'm up 5 points. He's equal. And I bring my knight back to attack his queen. He comes over here. And I was pretty happy with this, honestly, because I had this move. And I thought this move was good. I actually touched my knight. And I went to take this pawn here. And I was about to capture here. And I realized, oh, that's a huge blunder. I better not do that. Because he's got the bishop here on d5. So I touched it. And then I didn't take. And I like pulled it back. And he's like, you going to move that piece or something? I was like, yeah, I'm going to move it. Don't worry. Because I knew I had this move in the back of my mind. But apparently this was not the best move. The move that I played. Even though it looks like a pretty nice fork here. Because he can just swap off. It forces a swap off because then he can defend his rook. I bring my knight back, attacking his rook, and he keeps just wanting to move this rook around. I come down here to attack his bishop. He takes mine off. I take him off, and the game is basically dead even here. There is almost no advantage for anybody, and we just go to a crazy endgame. Take, all this moving around with bishops, opposite color. King comes all the way up. And here, apparently, I made a mistake on the very last move, which meant he probably could bring his king around here and win this pawn at some point. I'm not sure. It looks actually quite difficult, but it looks like he is able to do that. And he was in a winning position, but he offered me a draw here, and I took it. So, game 3 was a draw. Tim is about a 1700 on chess.com. And he was also unrated. This was his first tournament. I was happy enough to get a draw. And so far in the tournament, I have 2 wins and a draw. So if I win the next game, I was coming home with a first place trophy. I mean, unless Tim won all his games as well. But I was coming home with a first place trophy if I win my next game. So you guys ready for game 4? Game 4 is quite exciting. Let me just show you the review on this. Tim played with an 84.8 and I played with an 83.7. Pretty happy overall with these accuracies that I'm playing with. But game 4 is definitely one to learn from. I played all my moves in about 5 minutes. Felt like I was up about 100 points of material. But after looking at the analysis, I see that I wasn't doing quite as well as I thought I was. And Mr. Tim, the elder, showed me that he is a wise old man, and I was humiliated. So let's have a look at game 4. Here's game 4. I play Queen's Pawn, the standard Jabava. Played this about 1 billion times, and no, this is not the Caro-Kann. The Caro-Kann is against e4, guys. And we're playing this with a d4. So this is like a Slav defense, I think. I'm sorry, I'm only going over this because my YouTube comments always tell me that it's not a Caro-Kann. And I have been put wrong. But we do all these book moves. We do a pawn storm on this bishop. We've done this so many times on the series. I know how to do this. I'm feeling very confident here, playing almost all the best moves. And here, I want to get my queen here because I'm looking at this pawn. He brings his knight back here to defend, which is very interesting. So I bring my knight over here just to defend my bishop. He brings his queen here to defend his bishop. So we have to do a bishop swap off. And here, I mean, my moves are just so easy. They're just playing itself. Castle my king to safety. He moves his knight over. I push my pawn up, because I can open up the middle. I have quite a strong queen here, a rook. Everything's getting involved in the game. My king's castled to open up the position. He can't bring his queen in here because I have a knight holding it, so I just felt really good here. He castles, so now I just push this pawn, and it's enabling my knight to go here to f4 because the queen can't hit it anymore. He pulls his queen back. Now the knight comes into f4, and I am going to eat this pawn on g6. He moves his rook over. I take the pawn for free. He takes me. I take him. And now his position just seems like it's falling apart. I'm up about 2 points of material here. And I would take my position any day of the week. It just looks super solid. But I start to mess up. And Mr. Tim shows me why his name is Mr. Tim. He moves his knight over. I bring my rook over because I'm like, let's just push the last pawn. His queen comes over to e7. I swing my knight back here because I'm thinking I can get my knight here to g3 and attack this pawn, be attacked twice. His rook's the only defense of this, so this looks really good. But I didn't see these ideas, these threats of his knight coming in on c4, of him pushing pawns and stuff here and just destroying my center. I do not play very wise here. He brings his rook down. I take the pawn because I'm a greedy Hallian. And here he swings his rook back just to defend this pawn. And here's the big blunder. I bring my rook up to defend this pawn. I don't know why I need to do this. Like, is there any reason I need to do this? Like, why don't I just push the pawn, push it up, sack it even, and, you know, it gives my queen maybe some more angles for checking the king. I'm already up 2 pawns, so I don't need to greedily just defend everything. I don't know. I just felt really stupid after the game. He brings his rook over. My position's still dominating. He wants to attack this. I bring my knight back, and all I need to do is push this h-pawn. He plays c5. And here, I play take on c5. Not a good idea, because it allows knight to c4, attacking my center, forking my pieces. And what do you do here as white? Like, there's probably a move, but I couldn't find it. This was the move I played. Defend that weakness. Just give up a pawn. He takes, I take, he takes here. So he actually wins 2 pawns back. Not great. I should have just swung the rook over here, and then we can take here. And I'm not losing this pawn. I didn't see this move in the game, but if I had seen this idea of bringing the knight here, I probably would have gone for it. Knight here. If he takes me, then I take on e4, forking both of his pieces, which would have just been a beautiful kind of move to find. There's no way for him to, you know, avoid this. It says his best move is d2, and I just take d2. Yeah, he's got a few checks, whatever. You know, nothing really works. But I didn't see any of that. And I didn't see just leaving the pawn here. I should have defended with the rook, but I push the pawn like a fool. He takes, I take, he takes. I move my rook back because I noticed that he's hitting this square, and this is a threatened checkmate. I do have a knight defending, but he can honestly just go here, and then I have to move my knight, and then he just checkmates me. So I move my rook back. He takes another pawn. He's only down 1 point of material. I move my knight here because I see I can go for this pawn. I take it. He takes. I take. He moves his king. And here I mistakenly go for his knight, thinking I can attack this knight. If he doesn't move it, I take his knight for free. And if he does move it, I take this pawn. He does move it, so I take the pawn. And he was threatening a back ranker. It was in this position that I resigned because my only move is this, and this is checkmate. So that was truly depressing to lose when I felt like I had such a huge advantage. I was up a couple points of material. I could have just slowly improved my position instead of doing stupid stuff with bringing my rook up to d3. I could have moved my rook over to e1 and, you know, tried to find some good tactics there with that knight move. But I made all my moves in about 10 minutes. And even though Mr. Tim used probably 40 of his 55 minutes, he showed me how to play chess. So I came in 4th place overall in the tournament. This 4th game, if I hadn't mucked around near the end, you know, I probably would have had an 80-something% accuracy. I had a 70.3. It was game 4. I was a bit tired. I've got all the excuses in the world. But all the other 3 games, I had over 80% in all of them. This 4th game, a 70%. So honestly, I'm pretty happy that I played a lot better. The person who did win was Big Tim in the 3rd game that we played. So here's a quick video of Big Tim with his trophy. Wow, the big man with the trophy! Thanks so much for watching, lads. Really enjoy doing these recaps. And actually, something pretty cool that's happened. I have just become sponsored by a chess company. And I'll be talking to you guys more about that next week. Things are happening. See you guys next week.